And while we are seeing a rise in demand for apartments, our market monitor tonight says investors should prepare themselves for, quote, ongoing corrections in the stock market, around 3% or so. He's Howard Ward, Chief Investment Officer of Growth Equities at Gabelli Funds. So, Howard, are frequent corrections good or bad for the markets and for investor confidence, as opposed to one solid correction and you get the pain over with?
Well, I think personally, I'd rather have a lot of small corrections than the very big ones, especially after what we've been through in the last decade. And it's inevitable that we will have the 3 to 5% and an occasional 10% correction. It's part of the life of the stock market. It's not all bad. And the market does move to, gets a little bit ahead of itself. It's probably a little bit ahead of itself right now. And we can't really predict exactly when that correction is going to start.
Howard, there's a lot of chatter from Fed governors and Fed bank presidents about when the Fed may pull back on its bond purchases. How worried are you about the effect that could have on the market broadly?
Well, Tyler, I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. I will say that when the Fed makes it clear that they're going to taper their bond purchases, I do expect that to be a catalyst for lower stock prices. That will trigger a round of profit taking. Importantly, however, it probably signals that the economy is doing better, and so ultimately the stock market should move higher, and I expect it will.
Howard, let's go over your stock picks that you're presenting to investors tonight. At the top of the list is Apple. It is your biggest holding. The stock was down today, even though the rest of the market was up robustly. Why do you like it? And, what do you think of it at $433? Is it a buy?
I think it's a strong buy, Susie. I like the valuation at 11 times next year's earnings. It's at a 30 to 40% discount to the overall market. I like the $60 billion buyback that the company recently announced. That's going to be completed over the next 2.5 years. That's the equivalent of buying about $87 million of Apple stock every day for the next 700 trading sessions. That will help the stock. And I like the fact that as we move into the fourth quarter of this year, we're going to start to see a new product flow from Apple, and we're also going to get positive earnings comparisons. All those things will help.
Howard, you can get lots of deals on Priceline, but is Priceline stock a deal at $813 a share, really near or at an all-time high?
Well, that's a good question, Tyler. I'd like to point out that the stock has done very well, but the earnings have done even better in recent years. This is a stock where the earnings have been compounding at more than 20% in recent years. We think it will continue to grow at 20%. The PE is 20 times this year's earnings, at 17 times next year's earnings, at 1 times its growth rate. I think it's a good buy. Jeffrey Boyd has been the architect of this turnaround going back to the early 2000 period. We love Priceline as the global leader in online travel.
Let's see if we can squeeze in one more. EOG Resources, what's the attraction here?
Terrific acreage. This is a big oil producer in the Bakken Shale in North Dakota, as well as down in the Eagle Ford Shale in Texas. Strong oil production has driven strong earnings growth, and that's driven the stock higher. We think that will continue.
All right, Howard, thanks so much. Any disclosures to make on these recommendations?
Yes, Susie, I own all of these stocks myself.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Howard Ward of Gabelli Funds.